Talking about the Middle East, there is something unsettling about Obama administration's plans to give Egypt $450 million right now. It is all part of an emergency cash infusion on top of the $1.6 billion we're already giving Egypt this year. And they've stormed our embassy. I mean, does this make any sense? Let's ask Mike Barrett, partner at Diligent Innovations and former director of strategy for the White House Homeland Security Council. Mike, it is so good to have you back on the show. Does this make sense to you?
Well, actually, this really does not make sense to me. I mean, if you think about it, there's kind of three places you could put your money. One is into the military, as we talked about last time I was with you. And that does make some sense because you want to invest in some folks that are going to keep stability and that, frankly, understand Egypt's role in the world. There's another place you could put some money, which is to really help the people on the street who are poor and who may need some economic development. You might want to help some growth, economically. But to give money directly to the government when the government is so obviously antithetical to U.S. interest, frankly, makes no sense at all. And I don't think that's at all what was intended with the USAID when we originally created the program.
No, and when I think about our place in the world and they say, well, we have to keep our finger, in there so that we have some impact. I don't know that that's the case when the Muslim Brotherhood is in charge. But it also, we are broke right now as a country is maybe the most important factor you could look at. And we're borrowing from China to give it to Egypt and Libya. Does that make any sense?
I don't think it makes any sense at all. I think you can make a case when there are specific national security interests that you want to defend. So arguably in a situation like Libya, where you have the government that is trying to be pro-American and yet is fledgling, maybe you would actually want to help support them. But clearly, to me, in a case like Egypt, where the government is against the U.S. interest, you wouldn't do that. And this is, to me, just another great example of why you don't want the government making these kinds of decisions. No private sector company would ever take an investment strategy without having a plan for where's the money going to go, how does it meet our needs, what are the goals and objectives. And yet, when you look at an agency like this, it's really just here's a check, here's almost $500 million. And, the money's going to be untraceable once it hits the Egyptian economy. I
mean, you have a lot of experience in this area. You're the former director of strategy for the White House Homeland Security Council. I mean, you've been working in this area for a really long time. You talk about trying to help people on the street that you see there that need our assistance. Is that possible, though? Is there an effective way to do that?
Well, so I think when we talk about international aid in general, there's two ways that it's really important and that it's very useful. One is when you have a natural disaster. Let's say you have a tsunami and you've got a bunch of people and they're starving and you just want to get immediate aid to them. And so that's one legitimate expenditure of American taxpayer resources to help people who are in clear, desperate need. I think the other one, actually, the model we should be looking at in a place like Egypt is what did we do during the Cold War? What we did was we funded the freedom of the press behind the Iron Curtain. What we wanted was to inculcate the kinds of values that we believe in. And I think you could actually do that in some ways in Egypt, right? Find ways to create credit that goes to women-owned businesses, so you're helping out with equality of the sexes. Find ways to help the credit markets and the capital markets work. Find ways to support free enterprise. That's really the reason that America is so well respected around the world and has become such a model and such a magnet for immigration, is our economy. So we should be leading with that which we do best, which is helping the democratic capitalist society to emerge within Egypt. And I think what you're going to see if you do that, if you can actually find direct ways to help people there, now you're creating a moderating influence at the ballot box because you're going to have some people who are well invested in the global economy, as opposed to just being stuck with people that are, that are very religiously oriented and focused very insularly.
Mike Barrett, thanks so much. Makes a lot of sense.